As the attack on Iran backfires on Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, will Israel end up losing its nuclear arsenal, which is its worst-kept secret? With the joint US-Israel so-called preemptive strike failing to break Iran's resolve, Tehran is signaling it could answer by striking at an Israeli nuclear site. Netanyahu's long-guarded, never-admitted nuclear weapons program is suddenly under real threat. If Israel's undeclared nuclear edge is compromised, states stand to lose their biggest military advantage in the Middle East. A successful attack on Israel's Dimona nuclear complex, believed to be at the core of its atomic program, could turn the entire tide of the war, pushing it into a far more dangerous and unpredictable phase. As the region watches the suffering unleashed in a war many blame on Washington, a critical question looms. Will angry Arab leaders now tilt towards Iran, redrawing alliances across the Arab world? After US and Israeli forces struck Iran's nuclear sites, Tehran is now planning a mirror-image retaliation, signaling that it could hit Israeli nuclear targets in a similar, highly escalatory fashion. Iran has openly warned that it may target Israel's Dimona nuclear site if Tel Aviv and Washington push the war further and attempt to destabilize or topple the government in Tehran. This threat was reported by Iran's ISNA news agency, which quoted a senior Iranian military official, and was later picked up by outlets such as the Times of Israel, amplifying global concern. The Dimona complex is Israel's principal and highly secretive nuclear installation, long regarded by experts as the most sensitive facility in the country's strategic arsenal. The site is widely believed to sit at the core of Israel's undeclared nuclear weapons program, even though the Israeli state has never formally confirmed possessing such arms. Located in the Negev desert, the Dimona facility lies roughly 30 kilometers from the Dead Sea, deep inside Israeli territory but now thrust into the center of a potential showdown. Israel officially describes Dimona as a research facility focused on nuclear science, maintaining a carefully crafted narrative that downplays any military dimension. Because Israel has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and maintains deliberate ambiguity about its nuclear weapons, it remains outside the usual global arms control framework. As a result, the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, has no authority to inspect the Dimona site, leaving one of the world's most sensitive nuclear facilities effectively shielded from international oversight. The IAEA has confirmed that several buildings at Iran's Natanz nuclear facility were damaged in a recent attack, underscoring how the site remains a frontline target in the escalating conflict. Significantly, the nuclear watchdog has stressed that despite the visible damage, no radiological consequences are expected and the plant's core operations have not triggered any radiation leaks so far. The IAEA also noted that the Natanz facility had already been severely damaged during the intense 12-day war in 2025. When it was repeatedly hit as part of earlier strikes on Iran's nuclear infrastructure. It is still not immediately clear whether the latest attack on the Natanz site was carried out by US forces, the Israeli military, or a combination of both, adding to the fog of war surrounding these strikes. Iran's envoy to the IAEA said, quote again, "They attacked Iran's peaceful, safeguarded nuclear facilities yesterday. Their justification that Iran wants to develop nuclear weapons is simply a big lie," unquote. What is clear is that the United States and Israel launched a coordinated military operation against Iran on February 28, just 2 days after peace talks in Geneva collapsed without any breakthrough. In that opening wave of strikes on February 28, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed, along with several senior officials, marking a historic decapitation strike against the Islamic Republic's leadership. Since Khamenei's killing, Iran has unleashed a broad campaign targeting US bases, embassies, and intelligence facilities across the Middle East, signaling its intent to exact a heavy price from Washington and its partners. America's Arab allies have borne much of the brunt of Iran's anger, with missile and drone attacks also hitting critical oil infrastructure and energy facilities across the Gulf region. At the same time, Iran's military has launched nearly 24 waves of missiles and armed drones at Israel, turning the confrontation into a sustained, multi-front barrage. In response to mounting threats, the United States has shut down its embassies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Lebanon after a series of drone and missile incidents made normal operations impossible. Washington has also urged American citizens to leave more than a dozen countries across the broader Middle East, including Israel, as the risk of further strikes and regional escalation continues to grow. The list of countries covered by these warnings includes Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, and Lebanon, reflecting just how wide the potential battlefield has now become.